Sheamus names 10 wrestlers he hated. Sheamus once said, "I don't give a shit," and that was just one of 10 wrestlers he couldn't stand. Why would a guy like Sheamus, one of WWE's hardest workers, have this much heat with his peers? This isn't just petty drama. This is about locker room survival, ego, and power. This is about a man who fought his way through hostility, backstage violence, and fan rejection to become one of the most respected veterans in the business. Let's dive into the 10 wrestlers Sheamus truly hated. Number 10. Yoshi Tatsu. The story starts in Florida Championship Wrestling. This was WWE's training ground. Young wrestlers lived together, they shared rooms, they saved money. It was supposed to build bonds, it was supposed to create brotherhood, but for Sheamus and Yoshi Tatsu, it built nothing but rage. Sheamus borrowed money from Tatsu, he never paid it back. When Tatsu asked for his money, Sheamus gave him the runaround. He avoided him, he made excuses, he acted like the debt didn't matter. In wrestling, that's a cardinal sin. You don't steal from your brothers, you don't lie about money. Financial integrity is everything in a business built on trust. But Sheamus violated that code, and Tatsu was done waiting. There's another version of this story. Some reports say the conflict wasn't about money at all. Sheamus used Tatsu's protein shakers. He didn't ask permission. He left them dirty. He left them in the sink. To most people, that sounds insignificant, a trivial domestic dispute. But in a dojo culture, it's massive. It's disrespect. It's dominance. It's one roommate asserting superiority over another. Sheamus was treating Tatsu like he was nothing, like he was beneath him, like his property didn't deserve respect. The living situation was already tense. Developmental wrestlers were cramped together. They were competing for limited spots. Every day was a test. Every interaction mattered. Sheamus and Tatsu came from completely different backgrounds. Sheamus was an Irish brawler. Tatsu was a disciplined Japanese technician. Their philosophies clashed. Their personalities clashed. And the pressure cooker environment of Florida Championship Wrestling made everything worse. One day, the tension finally exploded. Sheamus threw the first punch. He thought he could intimidate his smaller roommate. He thought his size advantage would end the conflict immediately. But Yoshi Tatsu wasn't afraid. Tatsu came from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He trained in the legendary NJPW dojo. He learned strong style. He knew how to fight for real, not just scripted wrestling, legitimate combat. Tatsu slapped Sheamus in the face, hard. Then he kept going. He beat Sheamus up. Reports say it was brutal. Sheamus, the big tough Irish guy, got destroyed by a man half his size. The story spread like wildfire through the locker room. Within hours, everyone knew. The developmental territory buzzed with gossip. People couldn't believe it. The guy who presented himself as a tough Celtic warrior got demolished. Sheamus became known as a fake tough guy, a paper tiger, someone who talked big but couldn't back it up. In wrestling, your aura is everything. If people think you're soft, you're finished. Your credibility evaporates. Sheamus had to live with that label for years. He tried to rewrite history later. In interviews, he claimed he thought Tatsu was just playing around, but no one believed him. The damage was permanent. That humiliation changed Sheamus fundamentally. He started wrestling stiff. He started hitting people harder than necessary. He was overcompensating. He was trying desperately to prove he wasn't weak, but everyone backstage knew the truth. Yoshi Tatsu had exposed him. The developmental territory was supposed to be a learning ground, a place to grow. Instead, it became Sheamus's first major failure. His ego couldn't recover from being beaten by someone smaller. His pride was shattered into pieces, and that shame would influence every decision he made going forward. Every stiff shot he threw, every aggressive confrontation, it all traced back to this moment of humiliation. Number 9. Cara. Years later, Sheamus found himself in another fight. This time, it was with Cara, not the original Cara. This was the second version, played by Jorge Arias. In Mexico, they called him Hunico. On the streets, they called him Dangerous. He had a reputation. He was known as someone you didn't mess with. The fight happened in the trainer's room. Some reports say it was catering. Either way, it was a semi-public space. Cara was receiving treatment on a table. He was getting worked on by a trainer. Sheamus walked by. He made a snide comment. He implied that Cara needed to move. He implied that he, Sheamus, was more important. This was main event privilege in action. Card position equals backstage rights. At least that's what Sheamus believed. Cara didn't move. He refused. Sheamus got angry. His ego was bruised. He threw a punch. Again, Sheamus was the aggressor. Again, he was the one who escalated to violence. Again, he picked the wrong opponent. Cara swept Sheamus's legs. The big man hit the ground hard. Then Cara mounted him. He struck him repeatedly, ground and pound. It was a one one-sided destruction. Witnesses described it as brutal. Sheamus tried to cover it up afterward. He acted like nothing happened. He pretended it wasn't a big deal, but the damage was done. The locker room knew. Cara had a reputation that preceded him. He was undefeated in backstage fights. He beat Simon Gotch in catering. That fight was similarly one-sided. He had a standoff with Chris Jericho. Some reports put him at 4 wins and 0 losses. Sheamus was just another name on the list. Another wrestler who underestimated the wrong guy. The hate here runs incredibly deep. Sheamus presents himself as a Celtic warrior. He's supposed to be unstoppable. He's supposed to be the toughest guy in the room. But twice now, he'd been humiliated by smaller, more skilled fighters. His ego couldn't handle it. Every time he saw Cara backstage, he was reminded of his failure. Reminded that his tough guy image was a facade. The pattern was becoming undeniable. Sheamus kept starting fights he couldn't finish. He kept underestimating opponents based solely on size. He kept learning the same lesson the hard way, and each time his reputation took another hit. The locker room started viewing him differently, not as a legitimate tough guy, but as someone who talked big and got humbled. That's a dangerous reputation in wrestling. It follows you everywhere. It defines you. And for Sheamus, it was rapidly becoming his entire identity. The guy who lost real fights. What made this worse was the context. Sheamus was supposed to be a main eventer. He was supposed to be at the top of the card. And here he was getting beaten up by mid-card wrestlers. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. How could someone presented as dominant on television be so easily defeated backstage? It destroyed his credibility with the boys. It made them question everything about his push. Number 8, Triple H. This one is complicated. Triple H was Sheamus's mentor. He gave Sheamus his push. He fast-tracked him to the WWE Championship. He opened doors that would have taken years to open naturally. But that relationship destroyed Sheamus's reputation in the locker room. In wrestling, politics matter. Backstage maneuvering matters. Who you know matters. And Sheamus was labeled Triple H's workout buddy. That's a deadly phrase in professional wrestling. It means you didn't earn your spot. It means you got your push because you spotted the boss in the gym. Because you became friends with someone powerful. Not because you were talented, not because you paid your dues. Sheamus admitted this label gave him massive heat. The locker room turned on him completely. They saw him as a mole, a corporate suck-up, a guy who skipped the line by befriending management. When Sheamus won his first WWE Championship, he expected applause. He expected handshakes. He expected congratulations from his peers. He expected celebration. Instead, the locker room was empty, completely empty. The roster had walked out. They abandoned the space as a silent protest. They denied him the social validation of his victory. That moment crushed Sheamus. He was alone at the peak of his career, standing in an empty room with a championship belt. No celebration, no acknowledgement, just cold silence. Sheamus didn't hate Triple H as a person. He hated what the relationship did to him. Triple H pushed him too fast. Triple H set him up to fail socially. Sheamus had to navigate a hostile work environment. Every success was attributed to his buddy. Every failure was magnified. The friendship became a burden, a curse he couldn't escape. This created a strange, uncomfortable dynamic. Sheamus benefited from the push professionally. His career trajectory was accelerated, but he suffered socially. He was isolated. He was champion, but completely alone. He had the belt, but no respect. The locker room viewed him as an illegitimate title holder. Someone who didn't pay his dues, someone who cut in line because he knew the right people. And in wrestling, that's absolutely unforgivable. The culture values the grind. It values suffering. It values earning your spot through years of hard work, through bad independent shows, through sleeping in cars, through working hurt. Sheamus skipped all of that. He went from developmental straight to the top, and the roster made him pay for it every single day. They froze him out. They refused to acknowledge him. They made sure he understood that holding a title didn't make him one of them. The Triple H connection became a scarlet letter. Everywhere Sheamus went, it followed him. Every achievement was diminished. Every title win was questioned. The locker room whispered that he was only there because of politics, not talent, not hard work, just knowing the right person, and that's a reputation that's almost impossible to shake. Number 7, Shelton Benjamin. If Triple H represented the corporate office, Shelton Benjamin represented the workers. He was a talented athlete. He scraped for every opportunity. He paid his dues. He worked the mid-card for years without complaint. And then Sheamus shows up, skips the entire line, and becomes champion in record time. Benjamin refused to acknowledge Sheamus's status. He kept calling him a rookie, long after it was factually inappropriate. In wrestling, rookie is a loaded insult. It means you should be carrying bags. It means you should be listening, not leading. It means you're beneath everyone else. Benjamin weaponized that word deliberately. The clash was deeply ideological. Benjamin was from the ruthless aggression era. That era valued pure athleticism, technical skill, wrestling ability. Benjamin was called the gold standard for a reason. Sheamus was from the new PG era. That era valued size over skill, big bodies over technical wrestling, Vince McMahon's preference for muscular physiques over in-ring ability. Benjamin hated what Sheamus represented. He hated the shift in company philosophy. Sheamus felt the exclusion intensely. He was the champion, but Benjamin treated him like a nobody. That's a deliberate delegitimization tactic. It's designed to keep someone in a subordinate social class. No matter how high Sheamus climbed professionally, Benjamin kept him down socially. That created resentment, deep, lasting resentment that festered over time. Benjamin wasn't alone in this treatment. He was just the most vocal. He represented the silent majority of the locker room. Guys who had been there for years. Guys who had worked small towns. Guys who had driven 12 hours between shows. Guys who had paid their dues in blood, sweat, and tears. And here comes Sheamus, fresh from developmental, getting a title run immediately. It was a slap in the face to everyone who had suffered through the system. Benjamin made sure Sheamus knew it. He made sure Sheamus felt unwelcome every single day. He made sure Sheamus understood that holding a title didn't automatically grant respect. That respect had to be earned. And in Benjamin's eyes, Sheamus hadn't earned anything. He was a corporate creation, a manufactured champion, and Benjamin refused to play along with the fiction. The psychological warfare was relentless. Benjamin would walk past Sheamus without acknowledging him. He would talk about him in third person while he was in the room. He would make jokes at his expense, all designed to remind Sheamus that he didn't belong, that he was an outsider, that no amount of corporate backing could make him one of the boys. Number 6, The Miz. The relationship between Sheamus and The Miz shows how bullying cycles in WWE. Sheamus was bullied by veterans like Benjamin, so he punched down at The Miz. But it wasn't just strategic positioning. Sheamus genuinely looked down on Miz. The Miz came from the real world. He was a reality TV star. In the wrestling world, that's a mortal sin. Wrestlers view themselves as athletes. They view reality stars as wannabes, imposters, people who don't belong in their world. Sheamus aligned himself with that consensus. He joined the mob mentality. He mocked Miz as a celebrity stalker. He called him nothing compared to a true warrior. This wasn't just scripted material. This was real disdain bleeding through. Sheamus was using Miz to prove his own toughness. After the Tatsu incident, Sheamus desperately needed to show he belonged. Miz became his target, his punching bag. The irony is incredibly thick. Both men were victims of the same gatekeeping culture. Both were outsiders in different ways. Sheamus was Triple H's buddy. Miz was a reality star. The locker room hated them both. Over time, that mutual ostracization actually brought them closer. They eventually became allies. But in the early years, Sheamus genuinely hated Miz. He saw him as everything soft about the entertainment world, everything wrong with WWE's direction. Sheamus needed someone beneath him, someone he could look down on, someone who made him feel superior. The Miz filled that role perfectly. By attacking Miz, Sheamus could align himself with the traditional wrestlers. He could say, "I'm not like him. I'm a real fighter." It was deflection. It was projection. Sheamus was deeply insecure about his own legitimacy, so he tore down someone else to build himself up. It's a classic bully tactic. Find someone weaker. Find someone more hated. Attack them publicly. Gain acceptance from the group by participating in collective cruelty. And it revealed everything about Sheamus's fragile ego during those early years. He wasn't secure enough to stand alone. He needed to participate in the hazing to feel included, even though he himself was being hazed by others. The cycle of abuse continued, and Miz suffered for it. The locker room dynamics were brutal. Miz was hazed constantly. His gear was hidden. His belongings were thrown in the shower. He was forced to change in the hallway, and Sheamus participated in all of it. Not because he was naturally cruel, but because he thought it would earn him acceptance. He thought by attacking Miz, the veterans would finally accept him. They didn't. They just saw another insecure wrestler desperate for approval. Number 5, CM Punk. This is where things get deeply ideological. CM Punk was a revolution. He represented the independent wrestling scene. He was technical. He was precise. He was safe in the ring. He protected his opponents. Sheamus was the opposite. He was stiff. He was reckless. He was a brawler who didn't care about safety. In 2012, they feuded. It was brutal. Not just physically, emotionally. The tension was palpable. Punk openly complained about Sheamus's style. He said other wrestlers didn't like how stiff Sheamus was. For Punk, who was navigating injuries backstage during his 434-day title reign, Sheamus's roughness was unprofessional. It was dangerous. Sheamus didn't care. His response was blunt and dismissive. "I don't give a shit if other wrestlers don't like how stiff I am." That attitude infuriated Punk. Punk viewed wrestling as an art form, a collaborative performance. He viewed Sheamus as a dangerous worker who hadn't earned the right to be so reckless, someone who prioritized looking tough over keeping people safe. Their matches on WWE Main Event were cold. There was no chemistry, no collaboration, just two men who couldn't stand each other's philosophy. Punk saw Sheamus as a corporate musclehead, a body guy with no respect for the craft. Sheamus saw Punk as a complainer who couldn't handle a real fight, someone who was soft. This conflict foreshadowed Punk's eventual exit from WWE. Sheamus represented everything Punk hated about the company: the indestructible cyborg archetype, the body guy who Vince McMahon loved and protected, the past trying desperately to suppress the future. Their friction was the company's identity crisis made flesh. Two competing visions of what wrestling should be. The deeper issue was respect. Punk had clawed his way to the top. He had spent years in bingo halls. He had worked Ring of Honor. He had proven himself on the independents. Then he came to WWE and had to prove himself all over again. He earned his title reign through storytelling and skill, through connecting with audiences. Sheamus got his through connections and size, through being Triple H's workout buddy. That fundamental difference poisoned their working relationship. Punk believed in protecting your opponent, in making your partner look good, in collaborative storytelling. Sheamus believed in proving your toughness, in hitting hard to establish dominance. Those philosophies cannot coexist, and when they collided in the ring, it created tension that audiences could feel. The matches were stiff, uncomfortable, and devoid of the collaborative spirit that makes great wrestling. It was two egos refusing to bend, two philosophies at war. The ideological divide went beyond just wrestling style. Punk believed wrestlers should have creative input, that they should control their characters, that they should be treated as artists. Sheamus believed in doing what you're told, following orders, not rocking the boat. That made him management's favorite, and it made Punk hate him even more. Sheamus represented compliance. Punk represented rebellion, and those forces cannot peacefully coexist. Number 4, Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 28. 18 seconds. That's all it took for Sheamus to defeat Daniel Bryan. It should have been Sheamus's crowning moment, his WrestleMania victory, the culmination of years of work. Instead, it became the worst decision of his career, a stain he could never wash off. Sheamus didn't hate Daniel Bryan. He hated the booking. They weren't given a time limit. They weren't told to have a match. They were told to do the spot. Ding, 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 brogue kick. Over in seconds. Sheamus knew immediately it would backfire. He protested, but management insisted, and he was right to worry. The fans believed WWE was burying Bryan. They believed management was punishing him. They hijacked Sheamus's matches for years. They chanted Daniel Bryan during his promos. They chanted yes over his entrance music. They booed him mercilessly. Sheamus's WrestleMania moment was transformed into a symbol of corporate incompetence. This stripped Sheamus of his agency completely. He became a pawn in the audience's war against Vince McMahon. He was forced to be the face of the establishment. The fans wanted to destroy that establishment, so they destroyed Sheamus instead. He became collateral damage in a war he didn't start. For years, he couldn't get a positive reaction. No matter what he did, no matter how hard he worked, no matter how good his matches were, the 18-second match haunted him everywhere. It stifled his ability to be a beloved babyface. He resented WWE. He resented the booking. He resented being used as a scapegoat for bad creative decisions. The psychological toll was immense. Sheamus was doing everything management asked. He was showing up every night. He was working hard. He was cutting promos. He was having quality matches. But none of it mattered. The fans had turned on him permanently. Not because of anything he did wrong, but because creative had positioned him as the villain in Daniel Bryan's story. Sheamus became the symbol of everything wrong with WWE's booking philosophy. He represented the company choosing size over talent, choosing their preferences over fan desires, choosing corporate interests over organic storytelling. And every single time Sheamus walked to the ring, fans reminded him of that failure. It wasn't his fault, but he paid the price anyway. He became the scapegoat, the target of fan frustration, and it destroyed years of his career. The resentment grew deeper over time. Sheamus watched Daniel Bryan become the most popular wrestler in the company. He watched Bryan main event WrestleMania. He watched Bryan hold the title, and Sheamus was still booed, still rejected, still paying for a decision he didn't make. That creates bitterness. That creates anger, not at Bryan, but at the system that used both of them as pawns. Number 3, Alberto Del Rio. If Bryan was the rival fans wanted to see win, Del Rio was the rival fans wanted to see disappear. Sheamus and Del Rio fought constantly from 2012 to 2013. It was exhausting. It was boring. And neither man enjoyed it even slightly. They had zero chemistry, absolutely none. Del Rio's methodical submission style slowed down Sheamus's explosive brawling. Their styles negated each other completely. Their matches were met with silence. Sometimes apathy, sometimes active rejection. The fans didn't care. They were bored. And backstage, things were even worse. Del Rio was difficult to work with. He believed he was better than the business. He carried himself like a real athlete among actors, like he was too good for professional wrestling. He openly hated The Miz. He was arrogant, and according to multiple reports, he didn't put in the effort to make things work. Sheamus prided himself on hard work, banger after banger. He wanted every match to be great. He wanted to give fans their money's worth. But Del Rio sucked the energy out of the arena. Their feud felt like a war of attrition, not in a good way, not in a storytelling way, in a draining, soul-crushing way, in a way that made both men resent their jobs. The hate here was pure exhaustion. Sheamus hated working with a partner who didn't care. He hated that his body was breaking down for matches no one remembered. He hated that Del Rio's entitlement made him look bad by association. When matches bombed, both men took the blame equally, but only one of them was actually trying. Working with someone who phones it in is torture for a performer who cares. Sheamus was out there trying desperately to create memorable moments. He was taking bumps. He was selling. He was doing everything possible to make their matches work, to get any kind of reaction from the crowd. And Del Rio was just going through the motions, collecting a paycheck, not invested in the outcome at all. That imbalance creates resentment incredibly fast. Sheamus felt like he was carrying dead weight. And when matches bombed, when fans booed, when silence filled the arena, both men took the blame equally. But only one of them was actually trying. Only one of them cared. That's infuriating. It's demoralizing. And it created a hatred based not on drama or politics, but on pure professional frustration, on the exhaustion of trying to make something work when your partner has already given up. The feud seemed endless. They wrestled on every show, every pay-per-view. The matches blended together. None were memorable. None created moments. It was just two men going through motions in the ring. The audiences could sense the lack of passion. They could feel the disconnect, and they rejected it wholesale. That rejection hurt Sheamus deeply. He was working harder than ever and getting worse reactions than ever. Number 2, Randy Orton. This is the most documented case of mutual dislike. In a 2010s interview, Sheamus broke character, or maybe he leaned into a shoot. The line was blurred. Either way, he was brutally blunt. I don't like him, he doesn't like me. There's a lot of ego here at stake. The source of the friction was philosophical. Randy Orton is a natural prodigy. He was born into the business. Third generation, he has innate talent, natural charisma. He makes everything look easy. Sheamus is a grinder. He earned every opportunity through sweat and pain, through brutal training, through refusing to quit. Orton's reputation for coasting clashed violently with Sheamus's desire to prove himself. They wrestled too many times. The audience turned on them. After WrestleMania 29, the Raw crowd actively rejected their match. They chanted for everything except what was happening in the ring. They chanted for announcers. They chanted for other wrestlers. They did the wave. That professional failure fueled personal resentment between both men. Sheamus hated that Orton, with all his talent, often required Sheamus to carry the emotional intensity of the feud. Orton was in his headlock era. He was going through the motions, coasting on his reputation. Sheamus was fighting desperately for respect, fighting to prove he belonged. That imbalance created massive tension. Two egos, two completely different work ethics, two men competing for the same spot as top heel. The frustration was palpable in their matches. You could see Sheamus working twice as hard, selling more, bumping more, trying to generate energy. You could see Orton barely trying, relying on his natural talent. And the fans noticed. They booed. They chanted for other things. They rejected the entire program. For Sheamus, that was devastating. He was putting in maximum effort and getting minimal results. And his partner, a guy with generational talent, couldn't be bothered to match his intensity. That's disrespectful. That's unprofessional. And it created a rift that took years to heal. The ego clash was real and tangible. Orton thought his name alone was enough. His legacy, his bloodline. Sheamus knew they needed more. They needed effort. They needed storytelling. That fundamental disagreement about effort poisoned their relationship for years. It's important to note that this hate eventually cooled. They became brothers as veterans. They developed mutual respect. But during their prime competitive years, they were bitter rivals. Not just on screen, behind the curtain too. In interviews, in their body language. The animosity was real. The breaking point came after that post-WrestleMania Raw. The crowd completely rejected them. Management was furious. Both men blamed each other. Sheamus thought Orton wasn't trying. Orton thought Sheamus was too stiff and boring. Neither was entirely wrong, but neither was willing to admit their own faults. That created a stalemate of resentment that lasted years. Number 1. Jeff Hardy. This is a different kind of hate entirely. Not personal, not political, ethical. In 2020, Sheamus feuded with Jeff Hardy. The storyline exploited Hardy's real-life battles with alcoholism, with addiction, with personal demons. Sheamus was tasked with being the villain who mocked all of it. He mocked Hardy's addiction. He made jokes about his recovery. He framed him for a DUI. He threw urine at it. While Hardy consented to the angle, while he agreed to the storyline, the vitriol was deeply uncomfortable. Sheamus had to verbally abuse a legend about his darkest life moments. His lowest points, his greatest shame. The feud culminated in a bar fight on SmackDown. Critics universally called it low-hanging fruit, bad taste, exploitative, unnecessarily cruel. Sheamus had to reduce himself to a cartoon bully. This wasn't the kind of heat that builds careers. This was the kind that leaves permanent stains, the kind that makes people uncomfortable. Unlike his feuds with Cesaro, which were built on mutual respect for wrestling, this feud was built on humiliation, on exploiting real trauma for fake drama. Sheamus hated the one-dimensional nature of his villainy. He felt like a bully, not a performer, not a wrestler, just someone kicking a man when he was down. The tension visible in the segments was real. Two men walking a line they wished they didn't have to cross. Wrestling asked performers to do terrible things sometimes, to mock real pain, to exploit real trauma, for ratings, for shock value, for cheap heat. Sheamus hated this role more than any opponent, because it wasn't about winning or losing. It wasn't about championships or prestige. It was about crossing moral boundaries for entertainment. The emotional weight of this feud cannot be overstated. Sheamus had to look a man in the eyes and mock his addiction. He had to pretend to find humor in someone's suffering. He had to be the voice of judgment and cruelty. And Jeff Hardy, to his enormous credit, agreed to the storyline. He consented. He participated willingly. But that doesn't make it easier for the performer delivering the cruelty. Consent doesn't erase discomfort. Agreement doesn't eliminate guilt. Sheamus knew he was participating in something ugly, something that exploited a real person's real struggles for fake drama. That creates guilt. That creates shame. And that creates a hatred not for the person across the ring, but for the system that asked this of both of them. It was exploitation disguised as storytelling. It was cruelty packaged as entertainment. And Sheamus hated every single second of it. He hated what it made him. He hated what it represented. And he carried that discomfort through the entire program. The bar fight segment was particularly difficult. Sheamus had to physically drag Hardy through a fake bar. He had to throw drinks on him. He had to mock his sobriety. All while cameras captured every moment. The scene felt less like wrestling and more like genuine bullying. Sheamus could see the discomfort in Hardy's eyes. He could feel the wrongness of it all, but he had a job to do, so he did it, and he hated himself for it. The transformation. But here's the thing about hate. It can destroy you or it can forge you. For Sheamus, it did both. In 2009, he was completely isolated. Hated by veterans like Shelton Benjamin for his unearned push. Hated by peers like Yoshi Tatsu for his arrogance. Hated by independents like CM Punk for his dangerous style. He was a man on an island, protected only by Triple H's corporate umbrella, alone at the top. Through the fires of these conflicts, Sheamus evolved. The stiffness that Punk hated became the strong style that modern fans adore. Banger after banger, the arrogance that led to fights with Cara mellowed into veteran confidence, into leadership. The boring chemistry with Orton and Del Rio forced him to reinvent himself completely. He formed the bar with Cesaro, one of the greatest tag teams of the modern era. Sheamus didn't just survive the hate, he weaponized it. He turned his enemies into lessons. He turned his failures into fuel. He transformed humiliation into motivation. By 2025, he's no longer Triple H's workout buddy. He's one of the most respected workers in wrestling history, a locker room leader, a veteran who younger wrestlers look up to. The locker room that once abandoned him now looks to him for guidance, for leadership. The fans who once chanted against him now chant for him. The style that once got him criticized now gets him praised. Sheamus transformed from a paper champion into a true warrior. Not in spite of the hate, because of it. Every name on this list represents a battle, a humiliation, a resentment, but also a lesson. Yoshi Tatsu taught him humility. That's That size doesn't equal toughness. Sin Cara taught him respect, that reputation matters. Triple H taught him the cost of favoritism, that shortcuts have consequences. Shelton Benjamin taught him that titles don't equal acceptance. That respect must be earned. The Miz taught him about projection, about how we attack others for our own insecurities. CM Punk taught him about safety and art, about respecting the craft. Bryan taught him about booking and fan perception, about being a scapegoat. Alberto Del Rio taught him about chemistry and effort, about choosing the right partners. Randy Orton taught him about ego and evolution, about how rivals become brothers. Jeff Hardy taught him about ethics and exploitation, about moral boundaries. The journey from hated rookie to beloved veteran is remarkable. Sheamus could have let the hate destroy him. He could have quit. He could have become bitter. Instead, he used it as fuel. Every insult became motivation. Every fight became a lesson. Every failure became a stepping stone. So the next time you hear Sheamus say, "I don't give a shit," remember this. Behind every name on that list was a lesson that forged one of wrestling's most durable survivors, from hated rookie to beloved veteran, from isolated outsider to locker room general, from paper champion to true warrior, from fake tough guy to genuine legend. That's the story of Sheamus and the 10 wrestlers he hated. Hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Which feud was Sheamus's most personal?